Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 140 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor and Damon. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. How were you?
We missed you last week, Trevor.
Yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, just had some stuff come up, but it's all good now.
Yeah, no apologies necessary. I think that might be, is that the first episode you've ever missed?
No, I've missed other episodes. Mainly
been a while.
He took he took a hiatus. Are you talking about outside the hiatus?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Outside of that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, last year I took a bit of a break too. So yeah, it's not the first time. But you're right. It's not very often that I miss episodes.
Yeah, you're right. I totally forgot that you were gone for a little while last year. Yeah. Okay. Well, well, that shows you how many shows we've done. I just kind of forget these things. So what? I mean, how you guys doing? How's everything going? We doing well?
Yeah. Can't complain. I think we should probably get into it because there's actually a lot to talk about this week. Yeah.
Well, I will say one of the things I've been really enjoying so far is our Discord server with Patreon. I think that's been a lot of fun. And I know you did like a pre-show today, which was kind of cool, but nobody came, I don't think, right?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I should have given some more warning on it. And I also get that, people have plans and they can't make it. But I think, it's fair to say, and I said this on Discord, is that, we want to start using it more. And there will be opportunities outside of, a pre-show talk other times during the week that, at least myself, we'll get on there and we can chat in the lounge. So, if you guys are wondering, why to use Discord, it's an opportunity to talk with us.
Yeah. No, I liked that you just kind of hopped on the voice channel and just opened all that up and talked. I had planned on joining too, but unfortunately I wasn't able to. But, there's a lot of fun things we're going to do, I think, with the Discord as the Patreon group gets bigger within the Discord. I think there's a lot of fun things we can do in Discord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. But that being said, I do want to, we talked a lot about our Patreon last week. For those that haven't seen it, it's patreon.com/welcomehomepod. I do want to give a shout out to our first, let's say our inaugural group of Patreon supporters, our patrons. So I'll just read these really quick. And I thank you guys so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. We've been, pretty, I don't want to say overwhelmed with the support, but we've been, it's been a really great thing to get this kind of support. We really appreciate it. So Andrew D, we got Dan H, we got Julia D, Blake L, Bernice W, Kevin L, Becky W, that's our friend Becky, and Jeremy, of course, everyone knows Jeremy, Carrie S, Amanda N, Chris W, and then just Michelle. I don't have a last initial for Michelle. So we got just Michelle. But so thank you guys for being our first group of patrons. We really appreciate it. It's been great to have you guys, and we're going to do a lot more fun things with the Patreon as we go here. But as I mentioned too, we, as soon as I'm done writing the show notes, which I was doing at like 11 o'clock last night, I post them out there and I know some people read them before we even record. So you get a cool little preview of what we're going to talk about. So anyway, we got very few listener questions this week because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Like you mentioned, it's a very, very busy week of news, and I actually thought for a second it might be kind of funny if we just did the whole episode and didn't talk about the Genie news at all, just like pretended like it didn't happen. Oh. and I just have people just like be like, wait a second, did they not know that happened? It'd just be funny. But obviously we're going to talk about that, but we're going to have that towards the end of the show. So, but we could start off here with a couple of listener questions. So Dan wants to know, with Boma coming back, are any of you interested in a Disney buffet at this point? What would it take for you to be comfortable with a buffet dining experience? I love a good buffet. Give me a good breakfast buffet anytime. I'm always in for a breakfast buffet.
Yeah, I agree. But like to Dan's point, what would it take for me to be comfortable right now with it? I don't think there's anything that would make me comfortable with it right now. Like I just feel that you know, with the fact that there's still, you know, like mask restrictions and kind of that looming thing in the background right now with the pandemic.
Yeah, no, I get you. Yeah.
It makes it hard to, and not to say that, you know, Disney does a really good job of, you know, trying to keep things safe for everybody. But I just worry that, you know, going to a buffet right now is like, there's just, you know, people are touching plates. There's a lot of contact points, and I think I'm just hypersensitive to it at the moment. So maybe the answer is I probably need maybe about another 6 months to a year before. That's what it'll take for me to be comfortable with going to a buffet at this point.
I agree with Trevor.
I get you.
Yeah,
I understand what you guys are saying. I kind of miss buffets. I love buffets.
Oh, me too. I love Crystal Palace. Like I think that's great, and I would love to go back there. But if I was in the park today, I would not take that opportunity. Yeah,
no, that's understood. Understood. Do you want to read? By the way, this next question was not in our questions thread. I pulled it out of the group because I thought it was an interesting question.
Okay. So Dina says, do you think Top of the World Lounge will ever reopen?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't reopen it, but again, I think this is a matter of, you know, them getting to a point where they can staff it just like anything else, right? You know, it's, you know, they're not going to open it and have it sit empty. I think it will reopen, but I think it's probably going to be like one of the last things to reopen, right? Like because I already, you know, and I don't know this for a fact. This is what I've read over the years, is that Top of the World is kind of self-sustaining. I believe that it basically pays for itself with the money it makes from people spending money there, right? So with the crowds not being what they need to be, it doesn't necessarily make sense for them to open it back up. I mean, I do think that it's going to open back up at some point, though. Like, I don't think they're just going to let a lounge like that just sit completely empty forever. I just don't think that. So we'll have to see. But I do think it will open. I just don't know when. That you bring up an interesting point, though. I was just thinking about when you said, you know, it's self-sustaining. I realized, you know, even if they opened it at like 25% capacity, like other things, I guess it would probably be operating,
losing money.
Yeah, it would be running in the red because it wouldn't be able to recoup costs. So maybe it makes more sense just to leave it closed because then there's no operation costs until. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
That's what I think the problem is right now. I think they need to be at full capacity basically to make that place make financial sense. So. Yeah, that's what I've read. Now, I don't know that for a fact, right? Like I don't know, you know, but that's everything I've read about it, and that's part of why Top of the World's also available to what is the other color card? It's blue card, and what's the other one? It's white card?
White card, yeah.
Yeah. That's why it's available to non-blue card members, because it's something that's available outside of that. So it's like I said, it's like not, I don't think it's paid for by the dues of Bay Lake Tower. I believe it just kind of pays for itself. That's what I've heard. If I'm wrong, somebody can tell me I'm wrong, but that's what I've always heard. So. Yeah. So I don't know. Like I said, Dina, I think it will reopen eventually, but we'll kind of have to see. I mean, it's hard to know, you know, because some of this stuff, and I didn't put this on our rundown, but I did see a news article out there that the Princess dining place at Norway, and I'm forgetting its name right now, Acres House.
Akershus.
Yeah. Is that how you say it correctly?
I believe so. That was how I heard a cast member pronounce it once. So
wow, okay, you said it the right way. Then that's great. Like I've always said it incorrectly, but I read somewhere that has been turned into a corporate lounge right now, and I don't know if that's permanent or not. Who knows? So, which is kind of weird because it's so visible.
Yeah, that seems wrong.
It does. It feels wrong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, hopefully it's just temporary, but
yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Like, it's not that I'm like wanting to go there, but it just something like that becoming a corporate lounge, just I don't like it.
I think it just feels too visible, right? Like you walk right by it. Like the lounges should be like hidden, I feel like. But anyway, So Jeremy is a gold button Patreon supporter. He wants to know if we're going to send him a golden birthday button so he can wear it in the parks. Bonus points if it's sparkly gold and has the new WHP logo on it. I feel like this is a Damon question.
Damon, are you making a gold birthday button?
Hey, listen, as long as Tom is willing to open up the purse strings, I will put together something along those lines. That's not a problem at all. Well, while we're here talking about such things, though, I mean, it might be something that maybe we end up giving away for the holidays. I think I have Tom's approval here to, say that we're going to do some really nice things for the holiday. And I'm telling you guys right now, like, figure out that code in the episode questions that shows up every week, and you can automatically win. And then we're going to pick, random winners outside of that. But we have some really good ideas. I think maybe the golden birthday button, maybe something like that. But I don't know how many of those I'm giving away. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I might have one for myself, but giving them away. Yeah, well, there'll be a very limited run. Let's say that.
Here's the question, though. Go ahead, Trevor. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask. So this is a question to Jeremy: is that are you going to abide by the rules of the golden birthday?
That's what I was just going to say. Are you only allowed to wear it on your birthday?
I don't trust people, so I don't know about that.
You got to sign a contract with Damon saying you'll only wear it on your birthday.
Yeah, I almost think like it's one of those things where you get it sent, it gets overnighted to the Disney parks, and then it comes with a prepackaged overnight envelope, and you have to send it back the next day, otherwise you'll never receive it again.
That's pretty funny.
That's going to work exactly like the sporks in Galaxy's Edge. Damon.
Yeah.
We'll just never see them.
Never coming back. Never coming back.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, golden birthday golden birthday button is one of the oldest jokes I think we have on the show. Like, that's from really early days. Maybe in the teens, I think, of episodes, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
Like, this has been around for a long time.
I've always felt that way, though. So, I mean, yeah, it probably came out pretty early in the run because, again, I would say that pre-podcast, I felt that way.
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, go and listen back. But Damon feels that you shouldn't wear a happy birthday button at the parks unless it's your actual birthday. And if it is your actual birthday, that you should have a golden birthday button. That's a special birthday button, right? Right, Damon? Am I summing that up correctly?
Well, I don't think there should be any buttons except on your day. And unfortunately, to combat that, we've had to come up with the golden birthday button because people like Tom will go on an anniversary trip and wear it 5 weeks after their anniversary. So this would be...
No.
Oh, you definitely... He's on tape as saying that he definitely wore some buttons outside of their window. For sure.
Maybe like, I don't know if it was 5 weeks.
Well, no, that might be an exaggeration, but it definitely was not the vacation week. Let's put it that way. So
maybe, yeah.
These golden buttons are to make sure that you're abiding by the actual rules of the button.
Fair enough. Well, listen, we're going to, part of why we're, I know we keep mentioning the Patreon, but part of what the point of the Patreon is to do stuff like this, right? To do more things like this that we can give away at different times. So listen, I will say the golden birthday button tier on Patreon does not come with this as a benefit, but it might be a giveaway that we do. Yeah.
I think it will be a giveaway. And I almost think that these might be, this might not be just a button place. Like this may be something that we go out and have to get somebody to do with like real gold foil. Like stay tuned. If I'm going to do it, it's going to be done right. And there may only be one, right? Well, of course, we'll be able to have ours should we want them. But outside of that, there may only be one listener that gets one of these things.
Well, depending on how nice you decide to make it.
I think I'm going to make it nice enough that it really may only be one. Like there may be an essay that comes along with this. Think college application.
Wow.
I was going the other way and thinking this was going to turn into Highlander, where
only be one.
People are chasing each other down to get the button, and there can only be one, right?
What if the button is at Disney and you can be checked? Like, you can just be straight up checked by somebody else. Oh, like, whoa, hold on a second. Let me see your license. It's your birthday? Yeah, let me see your license. And if you can't prove your day, then you have to hand it over to that person. Like, I could get on board with that.
See, I thought you were going to say that it was going to be like whoever we give it to, if they wear it in the park and another listener sees them wearing it, they can go up and then they have to trade it to them. Like, they have to give it to them.
No, not trade it to them. But if they're caught slipping, like they have to give it up.
Yeah, if they call them out and it's not their birthday, then they have to give up the button.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I like that. That's a fun idea.
See, I think that we're going down the path I've already in my head. So don't expect there to be hundreds of golden birthday buttons. This is not how this is going to work. There's going to be one really, really awesome birthday button.
What if we did golden birthday button pins? Like the
I mean, that's
enamel
fine.
pins.
I don't really care about them. There's going to be one golden birthday button though. There'll be one. Well, there'll be two, really, because, again, I'm definitely having one. There could be up to as many as 4 should Tom and Trevor want one. But outside of that, Now, this thing's going to be gold, like real gold leaf, foil sort of thing. So
I think we're going to need more Patreon supporters before
we might. We might. But I wouldn't be adverse to a golden birthday button logo on a shirt. That may be what the masses receive at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've talked about. I think a pin might be fun, too.
Pin might be fun, but, the pin is going to hold no weight in my book. Just to keep that in mind, everybody.
I mean, we just have to figure out what to write on it, because you can't just have, like, a, gold circle, and that be it. You got to have more than that.
I mean, to be secret society, it could have a pyramid with an eyeball in it. Like, we don't know. Could be Bill.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's enough golden birthday button talk. Trevor, you want to read this last question?
Yeah. So Kitty Girl via Discord says, what's the most expensive thing / souvenir you've bought at Disney? Not DVC or tickets to the park.
Could I say how much I enjoyed that?
We already answered this, though.
What did we answer this?
Not only did we already answer, we already answered on the show.
Yeah, I think we had this question a couple of months ago.
We did.
Did we? Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
You guys have better
Tom
memories
forgot.
than I do with this stuff. Yeah, I forget these things. Okay, well,
yeah,
because I don't even remember what the answer to this question is.
Well, my answer was and still is. I bought one of the Polynesian lamps, which that ran upwards of about $300, and then I had to have it shipped back home. So it was pretty expensive, but worth it.
Yeah,
artwork.
Artwork. Gosh, I don't even know. I mean, does like a tour count? Does like the fireworks cruise that we did?
It said tickets. No. So yeah, tickets and stuff. Events wouldn't count. So it has to be a souvenir or something that you bring.
Oh, you know what? Now I remember this question, because I think my answer was my wife got an Alex and Ani bracelet that was at the parks. I think that was a couple $100. So okay, yeah, I guess we did answer this question. All right. Sorry guys. Sorry we're answering duplicate questions. Just trying to give a shout out to Kitty Girl from Discord.
Yeah,
I just like the Discord we're using screen names as names and, saying that. So anyway.
Yeah, which I did mention in the Discord, you can change your name on the server to match your actual name, and it doesn't change it for anywhere else in Discord. So, if you want us to know who you are, like from the Facebook group to Discord, you might want to change your name. Otherwise, we're going to use your Discord name, which may not make sense to everybody.
I like Kitty Girl, though. That's fun. All right. So some little DVC news here. And I know you were excited about this, Trevor. I literally sent this to you because I knew you were going to be excited about it. So we've got fold-away beds are coming to Polynesian villas and bungalows and the villas at Disney's Grand Floridian. So those beds that fold up into the wall are being installed there now. And it looks like, this is going to be a new trend. I think this is a great thing. I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever slept on one of the pull-out couches, the regular ones. I don't think I have. I've had guests sleep on them, though, and they're not the most comfortable in the world. But the ones that go up into the wall are like a real mattress, and you don't have like a bar sticking in your back, and it's a lot more comfortable, I think.
Yeah. So for me, I was excited about it because, like right now, my son uses the fold-down bed that is underneath the TV, and that works. As he's been growing up, that's been fine. But I know it's going to hit a point where he's going to want a full-size bed, and we've done other trips where he's slept on couch fold-out beds, and he's young, he can put up with it, but I know as he gets older it would be nice to have something a little nicer for him to to sleep on. And, you know, same thing, like if we have guests come or whatever, same thing. Right. So, no, I think that's good. And I'm curious to see how it's going to look when everything's done. And, you know, for anyone that, I don't know if anyone would have liked those couches in the Polynesian, but it was like these red, I mean, they looked very 60s, like they kind of fit the theme of the Polynesian, but
I was gonna say the rest of the Polynesian,
but they weren't good. It looked like the couch looked like it came from the 60s, not that it was inspired by the 60s.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like it was still there from the 60s.
Yeah. Like they just left furniture in for like 30 years. So yeah, I'm glad to see those go away.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago when we had to record early, I had gone away for the weekend. I went on a fishing trip, and we'd stayed at this place that was like part of the fishing place we were at, and there was everything in this place that we were staying in was from the 80s, and it was still from the 80s. Like it was not like 80s; it was put there in the 80s, and it was still there. You know, so yeah. So, and I only know that because I saw like in the concrete outside, somebody wrote 81 on there. And I'm like, okay, so all that stuff got here in 81 and stayed here. Never left. I was half expecting to see like the plastic on the couches like my grandmother used to do, you know? So anyway, no, but I think this is a good development. And I don't know, like, I don't know, Damon, if how your kids usually sleep. I mean, do they sleep on the pullout when you guys go? Is that a thing that affects you?
No, it doesn't affect us.
Okay. Well, where do they usually sleep then? Because don't they...
On the pullout.
That's what I just said. They usually sleep on the pullout, so I said it doesn't affect us, though. I don't care either way. You don't care either way? Your kids,
no, they don't care either way. They don't care.
Okay. Well, hopefully more comfortable for them, right? So back to our Fab 50 watch. We got a couple more to announce. We got Abu, which I think we... saw was coming, right? I think that was on that supposed list. Then we got Gus, and what is that?
Jock? Yeah.
Doesn't Jock usually have a U in it? Okay, well, all right. Minnie Mouse, why did they take so long to officially announce Minnie Mouse? I do not know. And then we got Pinocchio, and then we got Nemo and Dory. So
to answer the Minnie Mouse thing, if they announced all the main ones up front, everyone would have stopped listening after like the second announcement.
It's a fair point.
So yeah, I can see why they spread them out. Honestly, this is the least contentious list I've seen so far.
This is the least contentious group we have. You feel like all of these belong on there?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay. Yeah. I'm okay with these. Yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with any of these. I am starting to wonder though if we're going to have like a single human being on any of these. Like, have we had any human beings?
Well, who would you want?
Well, you would think Aladdin would be with Abu, right? Like, or the princesses, or, you know.
Okay, yeah, fair.
I mean, if they're just keeping humans out, like maybe that explains why we didn't see any of the princesses on the list. Like maybe they're just only doing characters that are non-human.
Or animal / object cartoon characters.
Kind of seems like what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Then again, Edna Mode's a human, right? So that's the only one I can think of, though, that's been officially announced. That's a person.
Sorry, was the guy from, what's his name? From Soul? I can't remember his name.
Oh, yeah. He's okay. There you go. You're right. So maybe they're not doing that. I was trying to remember if they had any or not, but I guess there's just been a couple.
Yeah, I think the logic behind this is just escaping a lot of us. Like,
like, what are they trying to do here?
Well, they say Fab 50, and then it's like half of them are like, okay. Yeah. But I guess, everyone has a different top 50, right?
I'm sure they have a reasoning for doing these things, like, but I don't know what it is. I don't know who decided all this. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of odd. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll keep our Fab 50 watch up for the rest here. I'm sure. I don't even know how many we've gone through yet. I mean, I feel like it's been about 5 a week, right?
Yeah. So I was going to say we're probably about halfway through right now.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to finish within the next month here. It's going to finish before the 1st, right? So should know the whole list in a few weeks.
Yeah, we probably got another 5 or 6 weeks. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the NBA experience news.
Because we all cared so much about the NBA experience.
It's not necessarily that. It's more of
I know
what do they do with this space now? You know,
and that was kind of my point, is that, you know, I think when this opened, so first of all, let me be upfront and say I definitely have rose-colored glasses for Disney Quest, because I have a lot of fond memories there, and I thought it was a wonderful place. I know towards the end it was absolutely dated and they couldn't keep maintaining it, so I understand why it closed. However, replacing it with the NBA experience was not the best choice in my opinion, because I feel that, you know, that was a very niche thing, that it was like, who is going to this that is both, you know, a huge Disney fan and a huge NBA fan, that they're going to feel that this place is going to be packed with all of those people.
But the thing is that you don't have to be a huge Disney fan to go to Disney Springs. I think that's what Disney Springs is becoming, right? You have the shopping, you have the experience. I think the problem was the timing, just in general with COVID. What was a problem for this? Because, you know, listen, the NBA is a huge draw for the U.S., right? Especially just, you know, people in general. So I don't necessarily think it was a bad thing. I just think that it was poorly timed. I mean, the place in, where was it? Up at the ESPN Center when they had the basketball experience. I mean, it was kind of cool, and it seemed to be always pretty packed. Like I said, I think this is just a problem with the timing here, is what kind of cost this, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just... Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say, you know, a lot of what this was is interaction, and you can't really have interaction anymore at this point at the same way you could previously. So, yeah, I just think it's the timing here was a little tough.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they did it, right? Like, Disney's, you know, ESPN has a close partnership with the NBA, right? And I think the NBA audience in general skews younger than some of the other sports. So I think that's what they were going for, but I also don't know, and I didn't go, but I remember reading about it and feeling like it was kind of like, even if you were really into the NBA, that it wasn't, I don't know, it didn't feel like it was that cool of an experience. Like, even if you were really into the NBA, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, is it's like, so I know what you're saying, Damon, that Disney Springs is not just Disney per se, but I feel that, you know, if you're getting as far as Disney Springs, like, your intent is that you're already going to Disney. And like, I get there's also, you know, local crowds and whatnot, but I just don't feel that there was that intersection of, you know, being at Disney Springs and also being like super hyped about something like the NBA experience to keep a venue that big open. And yeah, you're right. It kind of goes back to, there's, you know, there has to be something interactive. There has to be something interesting about it, not just, you know, oh, you know, it's just a large space with, you know, a bunch of NBA merchandise and whatnot. So yeah, I think it was, you're right. It probably could have worked if we didn't have a pandemic hit, like, what was it, 7 months after it opened?
Yeah. And I think it only lasted about 7 months.
Yeah. So it could have worked, but, you know, again, for me personally, like, that was never something that I would have looked at, or anyone that I know personally would have looked at. So I guess the only hope is that, you know, whatever Disney decides to do with the space, that, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, it has to line up exactly with what I'm interested in, but I'm hoping to see, you know, them do something just as interesting with the space. Like, you know, Disney Quest was definitely interesting. And I feel that there's a lot of other things, you know, when we get back to the point of being able to have, you know, something more interactive, I'm hoping that they'll make use of that.
I think Dan hit it right on the head, though. Man, if you put indoor electronics sponsored by Tesla go-karting, that's a win, man.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like fun. I'm in.
Multiple floor go-karting, that would be cool.
Could you imagine?
Like, have the track actually.
Wait, and what did he say? He said, wait,
I missed that. I didn't even see that post.
Yeah, I think it was Sugar Time Rush, right? You kind of do that sort of theming. I thought that was a great idea. One of Dan's good ideas. Maybe his best idea. I'm not sure. I mean, because it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I would put that on par with a Damon idea. I'll be honest with you.
I think I'd mentioned this to you in our Facebook chat that I think an escape room or something like that would be interesting.
I'm just not into that because, like I said on the kind of the chat, is that once it's done, how are you stopping yourself from finding out about it, right? Like you just can't. So how often are they rotating through this room? There's too many people come through, right, to make it something you could do. Even if you had 20 different escape room plans, they're burned through immediately and you're going to hear about them. And then it's just not fun. And for them as a business, right? Let's just say it's you and you don't want to listen or hear or whatever, but that's not everybody, right? And that business is just not sustainable at such a large place with that many people and an audience that's that large. That's the problem. I think it would be great. I would love it, but I don't think sustainable in an area.
Are you saying escape rooms in general, or just because
no, I'm
escape room?
Because it's at Disney.
Yeah, because Disney has so many groups and people. Yeah,
and there's just too many people going through it. Like I think an escape room in your town, right? Like I mean, the percentage of audience, right? You're not jumping on your town's Facebook group, probably, right? And seeing the answers to the to this escape room on your Facebook group. And I just think that while it would be phenomenal, I don't know how they maintain it, right? And from a business standpoint, how do you maintain it? The Void is a little different because, right, it's an experience that it almost doesn't matter if you know the ending. But an escape room would be tough. Plus, you'd have people in there, going through, learning all the answers just so they could get the quickest time. I mean, that might be good business for Disney, but I don't necessarily know if that would be fun per se. Well, I don't know.
I was going to say, I feel like it would be a very small percentage of the of people that would like go and memorize an escape room.
Are you kidding?
Well,
dude, come on, stop. Have you been on the internet lately? I mean,
yeah, but like, again, that's a vocal minority. Like, I guess I've done escape rooms with random people over the years, and
of course,
most people are like you said, they're just walking in blind. And
how many people go through that escape room though, or that area a day? Think about Disney Springs and how many people are just there.
Yeah,
it's at a different level, man.
Yeah.
And how many Disney groups there are. And I think the problem is it's just kind of like, with a football game score, a sports game score, like even you want to avoid it so much, but you just can't, right? Like it's almost darn near impossible to avoid stuff like that. So I just don't know if it's repeat business either, right? That's the other thing. Void I could do a few times as a repeat business. So I don't know. I still think the go-kart idea would be absolutely phenomenal. I think that would be the best thing ever.
Yeah, that would be. Is the building big enough for that? I'm just trying to because.
Oh, dude, if you're doing like, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And if you're talking about electric, right? So now, which is great because now I don't have to worry about fumes, which would obviously defeat the purpose. You can make it pretty small, right? You can make it Tokyo Drift style, right? Like you could do whatever you wanted.
I was going to say, have you guys ever done electric go-karts? I mean, those things...
I've done gas only, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've only done gas, yeah.
We have a place in town here that does electric, and yeah, you can get the drifting going. They've got power, and the neat thing, too, is that they actually can throttle them, so they can control, you can have different... like if you've got younger kids, you can actually throttle them down. So even if the kid is like flooring it, they won't hurt themselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I actually know about this because I did go-karts a couple of years ago with my wife, and my wife does not like go-karts, and I ended up lapping her. And the person controlling it slowed my car down so she could catch up to me, and I was so mad. It's like, but no, that would be cool. I like. It's funny you guys are talking about escape rooms because I literally, my wife and I did an escape room last night. But I also noticed when we were in the lobby, there were people standing there that they were literally Googling what the answers were to their room, and I was like, that's just not fun. Like, really? What Yes, I was shocked by that too, Trevor. That was the only time I've ever seen that. But there was some. I heard one of them say to the other, like, "Oh, did you Google this place yet?" And I was like, "Wait, really? You guys are going to do that? Like, why would you do that? Like, that just takes all the fun out of it to me. Like, the whole point of the escape room is figuring out all the puzzles. You know,
to me, that's like playing a video game, but watching somebody else play the game, so you don't have to. Like, yeah, that takes
all the fun out of it. Yeah. Well, and these people were wearing like shirts of like they have like an escape room club. Like
so they're the competitive hardcore.
Go get the best time without any hints. Yeah, but you're cheating though. Like get the best time without any hints. You need to be doing that on your own and not cheating. Yeah,
but maybe some people just want the full experience, right? They want to get to the end, and it's more about the experience than that. Yeah. So who knows? Right? Because if I was an escape room club where I was reviewing escape rooms, think about it. If I was reviewing escape rooms, I'd want to know all the answers because I want to get through all of it.
Yeah, if you were reviewing them, yes. I didn't even know that was a thing that people did, was review.
Oh, I'm sure that's a thing.
But yeah, so like that was fun. In fact, that was, my wife and I do escape rooms a lot actually, and I do think a Disney themed one would be very cool. I think there would be some really cool stuff there. And they could do a lot of different rooms in that space, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I have a feeling though that this is going to be I'm trying to remember what they call it. Is it standing, not operating? Is that the term that they have? They have a term for stuff that they just let sit there. And I feel like this is just going to sit there for a while. Maybe they'll take some signage down or something on the outside just so people aren't constantly knocking on the door. But I don't know.
It's just, just like anything else, like, even like some of the areas in Epcot that were left it becomes very, it becomes very disappointing when you walk into that area and there's like a large building that is just, empty, right?
Well, that's like the Cirque du Soleil's building's been sitting there empty for a while now, although they're finally opening with the new show. So
yeah. So
but yeah, no, it's or when we used to stare longingly at the ruins of River Country just sitting over there, you just for the longest time it was just sitting there. You could see it from the lake if you went by, well, at least parts of it, not the whole thing, but yeah, it's weird that they do that kind of stuff, and I'm just kind of surprised it didn't last longer than 7 months. I don't know what kind of money they spent on it. I don't know if the NBA paid for it or what, but it just seems odd to have that whole building, that thing that they built, and they just had it for 7 months and it's gone. Like,
well, and I think it's, again, with the timing of everything, the pandemic, hard shut everything down. And even now, I think kind of like how we were talking about Top of the World Lounge, is that they're probably at a point where they can't reopen it at the capacity that they want to open it at. So it would be operating at a loss. And I'm sure somebody's done some calculations on the back end and say, it's just easier to cut it off now than, to try and limp it along for years, hoping to recoup cost on it.
Yeah. Well, because I don't think it was doing particularly well before the pandemic. Like, I don't know if they were having that many people go to that place before the pandemic. I would be interested to see what we said about this, like back when this was opening. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just going to say, like, I think it's not a money thing. The NBA has more than enough money to facilitate whatever they want, right? They could have kept that place open.
Assuming they were paying for it. We don't know if they were paying for it.
Yeah, we don't know. But if they were, I don't think that was necessarily the problem. And I'm kind of surprised, to be honest with you, that they wouldn't have let it roll for at least another year. So I don't know if something else was at play there as well.
It does feel like there's got to be something else going on there, right? Like, it just feels weird that they just gave it 7 months and then the pandemic happened and then they just were like, we just give up on it. Like, because they built that place up from scratch. That had to have cost a lot of money. It had to have. I don't know. I just, it's such a strange situation to me. I just don't necessarily get why they would just cut their losses at this point and not try to make it work.
Yeah, and especially considering, because they did a bunch of NBA games at Disney World, correct?
They did, yeah. They did the whole, all the playoffs and the season and everything, yeah.
Yeah, so there is definitely still a partnership there. So it's not like, and they said this announcement, that Disney's not cutting ties with NBA. They're going to continue to do stuff with them. But yeah, I feel like it may have been, they just looked at it and said, it's not worth the time to, try and recover this thing after the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. It's just, it's so interesting to me. It's just an odd thing.
Yeah. I just hope whatever comes of this is like I said, the thing that got me was, you went from something like Disney Quest, which to me, Disney Quest was a big reason to go to Disney Springs for years. Like, it was like, you knew that Disney Springs was a lot of shopping and there was food and stuff, but then it was
I think that was Pleasure Island, man. I think.
Well, okay,
not for me, but for most people, I think that's what it was.
I mean, back in the 90s, yeah, but Disney Quest was also like, you know, it was an attraction in and of itself. And then when it was replaced with the NBA experience, that felt a little underwhelming, I guess. Or my take on it is, you know, I guess it didn't matter if it was the NBA experience. It could have been anything, but, you know, there wasn't, what they were trying to propose there didn't seem very interesting. And I think that was the biggest problem, was that it, like, even though they were like, oh, you know, it's going to be all this NBA stuff. And it was like, okay, but what are you actually doing there? And is it something that I want to get on board with? So, so I hope that, you know, whatever comes of this, that whether it's Disney or, you know, another partner or something like that, that, you know, it should, if you're going to have a space that big dedicated to something, it should be interesting. It shouldn't just be like a museum or something where, you know, you walk in the door and it's like, hey, it's another shop, but it's, you know, 5 floors tall, right?
Yeah. Well, and I saw a bunch of people say in the Facebook group that they should just turn it back into Disney Quest. And I kind of feel like Disney Quest 2.0 is what they're doing at the Wonders of Life Pavilion, right? Like that's kind of feels like what they're trying to accomplish at that pavilion where they're turning it into the Play Pavilion, right? Like whenever that's going to open. They announced it years ago and there's been like no updates on it. But, you know, it seems like what they were trying to do there is kind of like the future version of what Disney Quest was. That's just, you know, kind of what I'm thinking. So I feel like they're not going to do that. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll have to see how this, or what the next steps are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably just going to sit there for a long time and have nothing going on. So, all right, let's go ahead and do our ad really quick here. And then, we're going to get into some Genie stuff.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yep. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. So our ad this week is for DVC Rental Store. I'm actually going to check DVC Rental Store out because I didn't even tell you guys. So I had talked a while ago about like an impromptu trip in November. Going to try to make that happen. Very difficult to get DVC reservations right now.
Wait, Thanksgiving November or regular?
No, Veterans Day.
Because I was going to say you could have my Thanksgiving one if you want.
Well, yeah, no, we're doing like a short kind of like extended weekend trip from like Veterans Day to the weekend, basically. So should be interesting. So anyway, I it's really hard to find a DVC reservation for that time, so I'm going to check out Rental Store. So the DVC Rental Store, a World of DVC company, offers magical vacations at incredible value. Save up to 60% off retail rates at premium Disney resorts. DVC Rental Store now includes deposits as low as 25% at the time of booking and a built-in cancellation policy for every reservation. And as always, DVC Rental Store pays out the most to members looking to rent their points. Want to learn more? Go to dvcrentalstore.com or call 1-855-DVC-RENT. That's 1-855-382-7368 and let them know that Welcome Home sent you. Okay. Damon has to run, so I think we want to talk about the Genie stuff before you go, Damon, right?
I mean, it's not that hard for me, to be honest with you. I don't care about $15. I'm going to do it. I think, as everyone said, I would say it's too cheap. But I can't say anything until I know what that looks like, into what that means. Is it going to be super fast? Is it going to be not really fast because everyone does it? Do we know if they're going to, have a limit on it or not have a limit? It just, we can conjecture all we want, but it's all worthless until people start using it and going.
Yeah. So before we get too far into that, why don't we just give a high level for people that may not have read it? But
honestly, if you're listening to this show and you haven't read it, I don't know why you're listening to the show.
People come to us for news and to explain things. Dan said he needed me to explain this to him like he was, I think he said 8 years old, I think is what he said.
Explain like I'm 8, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what Dan said. So Disney Genie, we've been talking about this for a while. So it's important to note that Disney Genie it's not a separate app. It's going to be part of My Disney Experience, but it's going to be basically, I'm looking at it as the Touring Plans Lines app. If anybody out there has ever used that app before, it basically will tell you like, here's what should you ride this ride right now? No, wait till later. The line's going to be shorter in an hour. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of seems like what this is going to be. It's going to tell people, when to ride rides, what the wait times are now, what the predicted wait times are in the future. It's going to help you, kind of plan your vacation a little bit better in the moment. Okay, so that's the Disney Genie part. The part we're talking about is Genie Plus, right?
Yeah.
So Genie Plus is a little bit different. So this is the replacement for FastPass. And so what this is going to be is it's going to be available for purchase. You are going to have to pay for this. And I know a lot of people are upset about that part, and I get that. I'm not surprised that they're doing this. I am, I was saying to other people, like, Disney's the last theme park basically to have paid FastPass. Like, pretty much. I mean, even your local theme park, you can't do FastPasses without paying for it. But so I'm not really all that surprised this is happening now, but this is going to be $15 per ticket per day at Disney World, $20 per ticket per day at Disneyland. And essentially, this is basically like MaxPass. This is like the next evolution of MaxPass, which they had at Disneyland for quite a while. And I know was very popular, Trevor, right? I mean, that MaxPass was... Nobody hated on MaxPass at Disneyland. I think that was a pretty popular option.
Yeah. So something to note with this as well, just like MaxPass, is that so instead of getting the 3 or starting off with 3 fast passes per day, you get 1 fast pass. And we're going to keep using the term fast pass for now until we get used to it. So fast pass being, a Genie Plus reservation, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So you get 1 of those per day, and it does not. So Genie Plus does not apply to all rides, because so that's the next part of this is the on top of Genie Plus, there is also the Lightning Lane.
Yeah, and so what we should mention though, so this is $15 per ticket per day. What we don't know yet is if you could do this a la carte, right? So if you can just if you have a 7-day trip, if you can do it 4 days out of 7, I don't think that's really been stated yet. And what this is going to be, you're not planning things 60 days out anymore, right? So that's not how it works anymore. Basically, the idea of this is you are in the park in the morning and you say, I want to go to Big Thunder. You got your Genie Plus and you click on Big Thunder and it says, okay, we got a reservation for you at Big Thunder. Come back at 10 o'clock. That's literally what this is. It's like FastPass was, but you're not picking your own time anymore. It's picking a time for you, basically. Yeah. And then once you've used that one, you can do another one and another one and another one, right? So that's the whole idea here. Right?
Wait. It's not, if it sets you up for 10 p.m. at night, why would you ever buy this if you can't do it?
No. I was saying 10 a.m., but
okay.
I was saying 10 a.m. I mean, you wouldn't do it if you're only going to get a couple a day. Now, Trevor, you use MaxPass at Disneyland, right?
Yeah. So this is again going back to the old FastPass system where you would ask for think of it like going up to the kiosks for FastPass. You scan your ticket, and it just gives you the next available time. So the difference there is that but with the old system, you would get a window of times, and you could say, I actually don't want to ride this until 4 o'clock, even though there's an 11 o'clock time. They're taking that away. They're just saying, if you want to FastPass this, you get the next available time.
Yeah. So exactly. So it's the next available, right? So Damon, I understand your point. Why would you ever do it if you only get 1 per day, right? And that you're not going to only get 1 per day, right? And I think, and we'll have to see this in practice, but I do believe you're still going to be able to ride a lot of things by skipping the line with this, right? Like, I don't know how many it is, but I mean, and I don't know, Trevor, when you use MaxPass, did you feel like you were able to ride everything? Or was everything filled up? Like, how did it work?
So it didn't feel any different than, so I'll use a day at Magic Kingdom as an example. We would book our 3 fast passes in the morning, and then throughout the rest of the day, we would just, we would be able to grab fast passes for various rides. It's the same kind of thing. It's just, instead of, instead of, having a bunch of stuff laid out at the beginning was, you just start your day and go, okay, first ride, I want to fast pass this. Once you scanned your fast pass, then you would, you go in, grab your next fast pass and go that way. So I'm thinking in theory, it'll act kind of similar to that, is like once you've used up a fast pass, you can just hit the next one.
Yep.
So I mean, that wasn't bad at all. Like it made for a pretty, like you said, you could get.
I guess what I mean,
done.
things didn't get filled up by 10 o'clock in the morning. Like you could, Yeah, so like you could still get all of the, like you felt like you still got a lot of usage out of it, right?
Yeah, there was still like, things like Space Mountain, like the really popular rides. It was kind of a, get those done first, because even in the case of MaxPass, those would still fill up. Like a lot of people would MaxPass those. And then it was like, well, you can't, you're waiting, a couple of hours. So then they're doing a bunch of standby until their FastPass comes up, which to me was, that's part of it, is kind of understanding the system and knowing what makes sense and what doesn't, and, avoiding the really busy rides. So I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see how this works. And so you have that piece of it, right? And Disney World has said there's going to be 40 plus rides that are on the Genie Plus service. So it's going to be 40 some rides. And then in Disneyland, I think they said 15 rides, which feels a lot less, but which it is, but it just feels like they will have more on there than they've announced. But then we're also going to have the individual attraction selection. So this one, you'll be able to schedule a time up to 2 a day for the highly in demand attractions. And so far, all they've announced of the highly in demand ones that this will apply to are Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Radiator Springs Racers, and also the Ratatouille ride and Rise of the Resistance. So Rise of the Resistance and Ratatouille are still going to have their virtual queue. So you're still going to have the option of doing the virtual queue if you want for free. But if you really want to ride those rides and don't want to take a chance at doing the virtual queue, you can select a time. And based on the time, it seems like it's going to be I guess you would call it surge pricing, right? It's going to be based on how busy the park is that day, how many people want to get on the ride, how busy the ride is. So the busier the ride is, the more expensive it's going to be, right? Like that's kind of how it's going to be in a range. And this is kind of what they debuted at Disneyland Paris, right? Is this kind of idea. But it's also worth noting though too that these are still going to have Seven Dwarfs Mine Train anyway is still going to have a standby option, right? So like it's not going to be part of Genie Plus. I was actually saying that this is I think it's a positive for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, because if you look at it,
it should in theory make standby better.
It should, yeah, because way fewer people are going to pay the one-time cost, right? Some people are going to, of course, but like even if it were somehow like 80% of people, that's still 20% less people that are cutting the line, right? So before everybody got a shot at Seven Dwarfs Mine Train for a FastPass, now it's only going to be the people that are willing to pay a lot extra, right? So I think, like you said, in theory, this helps out the standby line significantly in my mind. So I think that still is going to, I think this, it's interesting how negative a lot of the reaction is to this, and I get it, right? Like I understand, because it was a thing that was free that is now not free, right? But I also think it will help everybody, right? Because not everybody's going to buy this, even though the price point is low. There are people that are not going to buy this, and we did a poll in the group, and there were some people that said that they weren't going to pay for it; they were just going to do standby, and that's kind of what Disney's banking on, right? So regardless of what happens here, you're going to have less people that are cutting the line, right? Because you're having people pay for it. So you're going to have less people cutting the line. And that makes, in general, for how long have we heard that there are people that hate FastPass because they feel like it makes the standby line longer, right? So this to me makes the standby lines better, even if you don't buy it.
Yeah. So, Damon, I know you have to go here before, we get further into this. I know you had your discussion, or you had your thoughts up front. Is there anything else, or what do you think about this so far? Or has he left already?
He might have left us already.
Yeah.
I know his thoughts were that it was too cheap, and I know a lot of people in the group felt that way. I actually think this is the sweet spot, right? So I don't think Disney wants everyone to buy into it, but I also think they want a lot of people to buy into it, right? So like I think they're going to have to find a sweet spot. I did read an interview with Josh D'Amaro, the guy that is in charge of all the Disney parks, and he made it seem like it's $15 now, but it might not always be.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, like anything else, Disney is, they will bump it up as time goes on, guaranteed. It's not that it'll get cheaper; it'll get more expensive.
Well, and that was what he said. Why is because the question was asked, why is Disneyland 20 when Disney World is 15? And his answer was, well, this is not a new system for Disneyland. It's a new system for Disney World. So this is like an introductory price kind of. But he also said too, and this is true too, people stay at Disneyland way less days than they do at Disney World. So it's an adjustment for that too. So
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, what were you going to say? I interrupted you.
Well, I was going to say too, the other thing to keep in mind as well is that they have, so the other aspect of this is staying on property. So this doesn't apply so much to Genie Plus, or at least not right now. But for the Lightning Lane, I noticed that so if you're staying at a Disney property, you can, where most people can't book Lightning Lane until the park opens, you can book yours at 7 a.m. if you're staying at a Disney hotel.
Yeah.
So
that's a benefit.
Yeah. So there's that, right? Like, and I think, like Josh DeMauro said, they're going to use this as an introductory thing and kind of get people used to the idea of it. And I wouldn't be surprised if, overall, the price of Lightning Lane and the price of Genie Plus goes up over time. But then, the discussion becomes, when does it hit the point of, nobody's using it versus, it's too cheap and everybody's using it, right?
Yeah, I think there's a balance here, right? Like, I don't think that Disney just picked the number 15 out of nowhere, right?
No,
they did market research on this. And
MaxPass was 15 at one point.
And that's the thing too. They have the experience of how many people bought into it at $15 at Disneyland. They know, and they could probably say, okay, well, listen, 65, 80, whatever it is, percent of guests were buying this service, right? And based on that, they can price it, and they understand how this works. I mean, they didn't just pull that number out of nowhere. They've been working on this for a long time, right? Like, they want to make sure that this works. So I understand the people are saying that it's too cheap, but it is interesting because in our group, I saw people saying that it was too cheap, and then everywhere else, I was seeing people just complaining about having to pay it all, right? Like, I don't know if that's just a difference between our group and others or what, but
here's something I wanted to put up, I wanted to offer this up. So a couple of nights ago, I was talking with my brother. We play games like every Friday night, but I specifically wanted to ask him about this. And the reason is that, for me and my family, we go to Disney every year, but him and his family, they go only about once every 5 years. So he's not a DVC member. He's not someone who travels to Disney regularly, but he definitely wants to go. And, to that point, so he's been to Tokyo Disney and he's had experience with FastPass at Tokyo Disney, but, his last trip to Disney World, FastPass wasn't a thing. So this was pre FastPass, right? So I laid out this whole thing to him and I said, hey, they've got this new system, you got to pay, you can do the free thing where you just stand by things. But then if you want the fast passes, you got to pay for it. And then the Lightning Lane and all that. And the thing to remember, and I kind of expected this, but, his point of view on it was, being someone who, I'm not going there all the time and I'm not, he doesn't have the mentality of, well, we can catch that next time, right? Like he goes there with
a once every 10-year kind of trip.
Yeah. He's going to go there with his girls and he wants to make sure that he maximizes on, getting certain experiences done. And he said, for something like the Genie Plus, he said that kind of seems like a no-brainer. Like, to him, it would be, part of the budget. Like, he would just look at it and go, okay, realistically, that's, or what he actually said to me is he's like, that's like buying like an extra, 2 Mickey bars per day per kid. Like, it's really not that bad. Like, in terms of, if you're actually buying park food and everything, but he also understood, the flip side of it is, there's some people that, the budget is just, as far as, getting in the door, getting food. So then, this extra piece on top of it definitely feels, like nickel and diming.
Sure.
And, for him personally, he said, obviously he has the money where he could afford to do that. And over like a week trip, he's like, yeah, that's an extra like $400 or $500. But, he's willing to pay that for the experience to get what he wants. And then, same thing for the lightning lane is that he said, it's not a matter of, this is too expensive. It really comes down to, is this something that I really want to experience with my girls? Like for him, he doesn't have any frame of reference for Rise of the Resistance. He's not, he's got 2 daughters. They're not Star Wars fans. So to him, it's like something like that is like, well, I could probably pass on that. So, but on the flip side of that, like he's personally a big fan of Tron. So, he may actually just pay for a single ticket for himself to get on Tron, whenever that comes out. Right. So, outside of, our group, this is the thing is that, we have to remember we're there a lot. We're used to, we go at least, once, maybe, a couple of times a year. So for me personally, it's, is it going to be something that I need to have every time? Probably not. But there's going to be a whole demographic of people outside of, those of us who go regularly that, this thing is going to be used by somebody. It may not be specific to us that it's used in, or maybe, a thing like once every couple of years you use it because there's something specific you want to do. But I think the big benefit is going to be for the people that are not regularly visiting the parks.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. You're talking about for just the individual attraction ones, right?
Well, that and Genie Plus. Like I think for both of them it's the same thing, because even for Genie Plus, like you said, there's not, we don't know if it's going to be a la carte. Like I really hope they don't do the same nonsense that they did with the dining plan where it's like you got to buy it for the whole trip.
I feel like it's going to be a la carte. That's just kind of what my feeling is going to be.
Because that was the same thing with MaxPass, right?
Yeah, that's why I think it's going to be that way, where you can just choose, hey, I want to do it because I think that would be a good way to do this, right? And not make people buy it the whole week. It could also end up being the new promotional thing, right? Where they do, hey, instead of, or maybe not even instead of doing free dining, but maybe they do free Genie Plus as a promotion. You know what I mean? Where they go, oh, you get free Genie Plus with this package for the duration of your trip.
Yeah, stay at a Disney hotel and you get Genie Plus for your trip, right?
Exactly. Like, so that could be a thing that happens. I'm a little surprised at how upset people were about this. Mostly because when I really think about this, when I really dig deep into what they're doing here, right? They're doing a lot of the things people have been asking for years, right?
Yeah.
The getting rid of the pre-planning, making it more spontaneous, right? Making it so you can make decisions day of and don't have to be scheduled 2 months out. Now, listen, I know there are a lot of people that like the scheduling of the trip. They like doing the 2 month out scheduling, but I think the majority of people kind of hated that, right? I think most people hated that.
I was on board with it, and I was
fine with it.
I'm definitely, I was game for doing it, but I will admit that, the one trip that I had where we had to cancel it due to a hurricane, I was really annoyed because I'd spent a ton of time and a ton of work, setting this trip up, setting everything up, and then just, a few days before watching it all fall apart. It gives you a weird emotional investment in just the booking of things, right?
Yeah.
And to that point is, maybe I don't, I know there's certain rides I want to get on, but I don't want to be committed 3 months ahead of time to getting on this ride.
Exactly, because you don't know what's going to happen once you get there. And I didn't mind it either, right? I didn't mind it. It was fine. But I also like the idea of being more spontaneous and being able to just be like, you know what? I feel like riding Big Thunder right now. Let's see what's available. I always liked that after my initial 3 fast passes, I could do that, right? That you had that spontaneity after those 3 scheduled fast passes because you could look for new ones and then just go and do that. But this is going to be all that, right? This is just going to be, you can decide whenever you want to go to whatever ride you want. So people have been asking for that. And then, the other thing people always complained about, and I said this before, is how many times have you heard people say like, oh, I hate FastPass because it makes the standby lines longer, right? So by charging for it, you essentially are limiting people from using FastPass. You're having less people use it. And again, I know everybody, there are a lot of people from their point of view look at this and go, oh, $15, that's nothing. But from a lot of other people's point of view, it's like, no, I'm not going to pay that. I can't afford to do that. Like, that's going to cost me a fortune. And like, that's kind of what they're trying to do here, right? And this is, in my mind, I'm like, if you look at it as only 80% buy it, right? You're still talking 20% less people skipping the line. So you're talking about helping the standby lines, also letting people still skip the line if they want to, and then making it for the rides that are hard to get onto, the Seven Dwarves of the world. That it helps both, because it's people, if they really want to go on it, they can pay for it, and to skip the line. If they don't, then they can wait in line, and it should make the standby line shorter, because now the only people that can skip the line are the ones that are willing to pay the super high prices for it. And that's going to be a much lower percentage than the Genie Plus people, much lower.
Yeah. And so here's a little bit of, mental gymnastics, I guess, that to think about. So, for my family, there's 3 people in the family. That's $45 a day just for Genie Plus. For my brother's family, there's 4 people in his family. So that's $60 a day. That crossing that, that $50 threshold.
Yep.
For a lot of people, that's a turnoff, even though it's really, it's just an extra $15. But, again, for his family, that could traverse into, no, I don't want to pay this every single day. Even though, he said he would, but that in and of itself, unfortunately, for larger families, it does become a barrier, because, if you're traveling with, 5, 6, 7 people, you're up over like the cost of an additional park ticket.
Yeah.
Just to ride rides. So I can see where that's a turnoff.
Sure.
To your point about the current state of things with or how things were with FastPass is, something that people don't think about is that, for those rides that, we were talking about, 60 days out, you're trying to book FastPasses, there were certain rides that if you didn't book them that day, you would never find a FastPass, which means, months ahead of time, that ride has already allocated, like, let's assume, 80% is FastPass, 20% is standby queue, right? 80% of the day is already spoken for months ahead of time.
Yep.
So yeah, like you said, it becomes very hard to be spontaneous and to get in those rides. This is flipping it the other way, or, it probably won't be exactly the other way, but, it's flipping it on the other side where, the standby line is there, and then the FastPass line will fill up throughout the day, but there's a good chance that, day over day, it's not going to be 100% FastPass or 80% FastPass,
exactly.
Whatever the allocation is, right?
Assuming the allocation is the same as the old system, you're not going to have as many people buying into it as when you had it for free.
Yeah.
Like, you're just not.
So that just means, like you said, it means that these lines are not going to be as crazy as they were. And the other thing too, and like the thing to keep in mind as we're talking about this, we fully know this is all conjecture and speculation, everything. There's a lot of people that are like, this is not going to work because of X. The biggest one I've seen is, people are like, well, right now there's, 60 plus minute lines, and that's without FastPass.
Yeah.
True, but we're not operating at 100% capacity, and not all attractions are open. So,
well, yeah, not only that, in some of the attractions, they aren't running at full, a lot of people look at it as like, oh, the ride's open. It's running at full capacity. Well, no, they don't always run rides at full capacity. They run them slower sometimes, especially some of the rides, like, the trackless rides and things like that. They can run those things at a slower pace if they want to. They do things, depending on how many people are in the parks and things like that. And they've studied this. They have industrial engineers that are doing this. That's what they do, right? They're working on efficiency. Like, I
was going to say the thing that most people don't see. And so the only place I can think of where I have regularly seen this is in Disneyland. Big Thunder Mountain sits right next to, I'm going to butcher the name of this place. It's Rancho de Zocalo, I think is the name of the restaurant. Okay. You sit right next to Big Thunder. Like, you can actually, so you're, right outside of the restaurant is the loading track for Big Thunder for the additional trains. So if you sat there long enough, you could actually watch, as the day got busier, they would load additional trains onto the track to run more people through. And to your point, we don't know right now for a lot of rides, are they running at full trains or are they only running at, 2 trains?
What they could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
If it can run 7, are they running 2? Are they running 5? Right. You don't know that. But again, that will scale up the times, and they're willing to accept that. They're not going to go, load up all the trains so that, we can get this down to a 10-minute wait time.
They're okay with a certain amount of wait time. Yeah.
Exactly. So the thing is that, you're never going to get to, everyone wants that dream of, every ride being, 5-minute
walk-ons. Yeah.
Sorry, that's not going to happen unless you go to an after hours.
It's never going to happen. Yeah, unless you're at an after hour event. That's it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's the only time I've ever seen that happen where that's the only time I've been able to walk on was, we did the after hours party and we hit every single ride in Magic Kingdom because there was no wait times.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
On a regular day, that's never going to happen.
I think the part though that people that are missing here too, right, is that not only are they going to have this, now they're going to have an app that tells you where to go for the standby lines, right? That's a game changer too. And so if you don't want to buy this, you're still going to have this app that says, hey, don't ride this ride right now. Go in an hour and the wait time's going to be 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to also have that ability too. So if you don't want to do Genie Plus, you still have this app that, if you guys haven't used the Touring Plans app, Lines app before, that's what it would do. It would say the actual wait time posted is 45 minutes, but the real wait time is 30 minutes. But you shouldn't ride right now because in an hour, the wait time typically drops down to 15. You know what I mean? And that's what this app is going to do. That's what they've said it's going to do. So yeah.
The only interesting thing about that is, so this was something that I read in a Reddit thread, is that Touring Plans is made, it's another third party. They're kind of
people reports. Yeah.
Yeah. They're making it based on people's reports and people's usage.
Yeah.
Genie Plus is made by Disney for Disney. So it's a difference of, Touring Plans, they don't have a hidden agenda.
They don't have a motivation. Yeah, they don't have a hidden. Yeah, they don't have a hidden motivation of manipulating your behavior. Yeah,
exactly. So that's the only caution I would say with that is that Genie is not going to be the be all to end all. It's definitely great that it'll give more people access to that. I feel like stuff like Touring Plans, for the really hardcore people like us, I've used those things. I've researched. Done all that stuff to kind of optimize and avoid crowds.
Yeah.
Disney doing it on my behalf, I guess, it seems great that, I don't have to think about it, but my only worry is that, not that I'm missing out, but that it's like, they may say, hey, go over here right now. But, the truth is, I could actually do something different that would be better, but they're going to kind of push people the way that they want them to go. Right.
But I guess the question is, do you care if Disney manipulates you into going onto Space Mountain when it's a 15-minute wait? Like, you know what I mean? Like, does that?
Yeah, I mean,
because the end result is what you want anyway, right?
You're right. You're right. There is a degree of perception there, and I guess whatever the perception this app generates is that if you come out of it and at the end of your trip you're satisfied because you got to do the things you wanted to do, and I guess maybe that's when I look back at after I finished a day at Disney, I'm like, hey, we did a bunch of rides, we did this, we went for this meal, and it's, I guess, as long as I feel satisfied at the end of the day, I probably won't be too upset about it. If, but on the flip side, I would never be that person that would be like, I have to get on this ride and you wait like 6 hours, like Flight of Passage, right? When it was crazy long lines.
But I mean, if it is, if they're not manipulating us all that much, right? Like, so, you know, an example, I think I talked about this on the show. My sister was there a couple months ago, and I had the Touring Plans app, and I was kind of helping her throughout the day. And she texted me at one point, and she's like, oh, we're getting online for Smuggler's Run. And I was like, don't do that. Like, it's an hour-long wait right now. It's going to be a 15-minute wait in an hour and a half, right? And so they were in line and got out of line. And then they were very happy that they did so, right?
Yeah.
And then there was another time where I told them, I was like, listen, it says it's a 30-minute wait right now for Toy Story, but it's actually like a 10-minute wait. Go get in line for that. And they were like, yeah, it was walk on, right? Like, if the app works that way, and listen, I know Disney's going to do some sort of manipulation, right? Because they do that now, right? We've talked about this before. They inflate wait times. They do it, though, for a reason of guest happiness, right? Because we've talked about this before. It's undersell, over deliver, right?
Yeah.
You say a wait time is a half hour, you wait for 15 minutes, and then you get that Facebook post from that person was, oh man, it was so awesome. I went on Big Thunder and it said it was 30 minutes, but it was only 15. So great, right? Like, that makes people happy when you do stuff like that. So that's why they do it. And there's going to be some part of it there with this too, right? But they're also going to they're going to try to push people to rides that have a lower wait time to get people away from the ones with the higher wait times to kind of distribute throughout the park, right? Like, that's what they're going to do. And so there's going to be some manipulation behind that, of course, right? But I'm also going to look at it too as if Disney tells me, hey, if you wait an hour to go on Haunted Mansion and it's only going to be 15 minutes, I'm going to be like, cool. I'll wait an hour to wait only 15 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care if they're manipulating me. I'm happy to wait 15 minutes for Haunted Mansion. So, that's
also an interesting mental exercise around it too. So another example that I heard was, you know, again, let's take Flight of Passage is, you know, you get on, old system, you would FastPass it and you would say, hey, you know, it was an hour-long wait, but I got on it, you know, FastPass was never instantaneous. So you still waited like, you know, 15 or 20 minutes.
Of course.
You got on it and then you went, hey, you know, I saved myself 40 minutes. But then every other ride in the park was, you know, let's say you want to go on Kilimanjaro next. So you go over to Kilimanjaro, but it's a 40-minute wait. But in reality, if there wasn't all the fast passes there, it could have been, you know, possibly a 20-minute wait. Yeah. Right. So across, you know, with the old fast pass system, it made it seem like you were saving time, but in reality, it was, you know, there more standby lines were taken up with waiting for fast passes. So, you know, you would save yourself that perception on the really long ride that, you know, you didn't waste your time there. But if you actually calculated your total time over a day spent waiting in lines, it was probably actually worse with the old system than what it could be with this. You know, like if they're, you know, telling you, hey, go, you know, plan to be over at Haunted Mansion at this time because, you know, it'll be quicker. You know, overall, it may mean that, you know, you're not spending as much time waiting in lines. And, you know, obviously that benefits Disney too, because like you said, it makes people happier because they're not waiting in line. But then also for that, like you said, hey, you know, you've got an hour, you're waiting out of line for an hour, but, you know, to get that 15-minute wait. But then what are you doing for that hour? Are you watching a show? Are you getting something to eat?
Money?
Are you buying something? Exactly. Right. You know, there's obviously some incentive on their side to not keep you in the line. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things here. I think it's funny though, like in general, how much people forget quickly how much they hated the old system when they announced a new system, right? It's almost like when they announced they were getting rid of Magical Express. It was like, did everybody forget how much they complained about that service before they said they were getting rid of it? And it kind of feels like the same thing here, is because people would complain about not getting, you know, waking up at whatever time it was in the morning, 60 days out to book their fast pass, and Flight of Passage was already gone by the time they got in, right? Like, this gives you a better chance at getting Flight of Passage. Now, I do think it's interesting they don't mention Flight of Passage with the Genie Plus service or with the individual attraction selection. I think they're still finalizing the list, and I would say that Flight of Passage probably will lean more towards the individual attraction one.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. But again, I think the ones that are not going to be on Genie Plus, I think are going to benefit the standby people way more than the ones that are on Genie Plus, right? because it's just that population of people that are going to be willing to pay that higher price to go on that one attraction. Plus, it's going to be limited to 2 attractions per day for those people to do it. It's going to be such a smaller percentage, and you're just going to eliminate all of the people that would have gotten free fast passes before. I just think those rides that are going to fall under that tier are actually going to be way more benefited than the ones that are under Genie Plus. So I think we've talked about this a lot, and really talked about it a lot. And listen, don't get us wrong here. We understand why people are upset about this. I get why people are mad about having to pay for something that was free. And I know makes Disney more unaffordable for a lot of people. I know this, in a way creates a class system. Now, I think that class system has already pretty much existed at Disney for a while here, right? In different ways, but this, is kind of making it an even smaller one, cutting it a little bit, into a smaller piece. But so I understand all that. I get it. I think I just want to see. I think we need to see what this is going to look like in practice before we all really have a real sense of what this is going to result in, right? And I think we need to trust that what Disney's trying to do here is for the benefit of the guests, because they don't want to make us angry. They don't want people to not come. They want the guest experience to be as good as possible. And that's, I do believe, what they're trying to accomplish here, and also making some more money. Sure. That's part of it too. Right. But I think this is also part of what they did with the ticket pricing too, right? Is they are manipulating guest behavior using pricing. And that's what they did with the ticket pricing, making it different depending on the day, trying to get people away from the high busy times to some of the lower, less busy times. They're going to do a similar thing here with this by charging people for FastPass and kind of trying to manipulate some of the guest behavior. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say here is I understand why people are upset, but I also feel like we need to see what this is going to look like and what this is going to feel like, and judge it from there. Judge it on the merits once it actually launches.
Yeah, I mean, it may be that Genie, without Genie Plus, just the Genie may be enough for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll be interested to see what standby lines are going to look like when this launches,
Exactly.
I want to see that. I want to see how that's going to turn out. And I want to see how good the new app is at telling you where to go. If you have this app telling you go this ride at this time, this ride at this time, this ride at this time, to wait only 15 minutes and you do everything in one day still, then what does it matter?
Yeah.
Right? If you're still able to get everything done through standby lines because this app will help you do that, then none of that matters. That's what my sister, when she just went by using that touring plans app with no fast passes, because fast passes don't exist right now, she was able to do every single thing in the park, waiting standby lines, right? I think there's still an opportunity to do that. And I still think that Disney wants you to do all that, right? They want you to ride as many things as possible, but they also want you to want to come back, right?
Yeah. And something, so again, I'm going to offer the outside view again. So going off of my brother's experience, this is, thinking of we're used to going to the Disney parks in North America. He went to Tokyo Disney, and, being someone who hadn't used fast passes before, he did a little bit of research, he tried to understand the fast pass system based on what he knew in North America, but it was a little bit different in Tokyo. And the struggle there was also a language barrier because some of the instructions were written in Japanese.
That's a challenge.
Yeah. So he was trying to figure out, he luckily had his, sister-in-law with him. And so she was helping translate some of the stuff. So he had that benefit. But what he said was, at first it seemed very overwhelming in the first couple of days, because he was there for 4 days. And so for the first 2 days or first day and a half, he was really frustrated with it because he didn't understand how, or he wasn't using the system as well as he could. Once he got the hang of it and he got a feel for how the actual FastPass system worked. And it was really, from what he described, it sounded really close to the pre-MaxPass Disneyland system, but there was a few weird twists to it. Once he got used to it, he was, the next couple of days, he was obviously way more happy because he knew how to use FastPass. He knew how to get onto the rides that he wanted. I think it's going to be the same thing with this, is that, again, for people that for those of us that are really interested in this, we're going to jump into the system. We're going to get comfortable with it. And, after 6 months, we'll see how it works. It may be that, there's a large decision that, this is dumb. I'm not even going to bother looking at this, touring plans is still better. Or it may be that, like you said, once we get a feel for it, it may be that it actually does make sense and people are overall happier with it than the old FastPass system. But then again, thinking outside of that, imagine being somebody who, just walks into Disney, not having any previous experience, coming from, maybe even another country. And, what I'm trying to say is, the easier they can make this for people, the better. And yeah, if it's all in an app and if it's all something that is accessible to everybody, it does kind of level the playing field, which, for some of us who are a little bit more hardcore about it, it feels like it's kind of taking away some of our secrets, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah. But that's an unfair system though, too, because the old FastPass system, if you were good at it, you could really do pretty well with FastPasses in a day, but you had to know how to do that.
Yeah.
You had to know the tricks and tips for it. You shouldn't have to know how to do that. It should just be simple for everybody, and everybody should be able to do it.
Every system is like that, though. There is always going to
There's no way, yeah.
There's always going to be a way to manipulate it, and people are always going to be trying to find that angle. But, I even think back to, the last trip I took with my parents, about halfway through the trip, we were hitting up rides, we got them on all these rides. And, I think, I can't remember which park we were in. I think we were in Animal Kingdom. We had gotten off Flight of Passage, and my parents turned to me and said, we're so glad that you did this, because we would have had no idea how to get on any of these rides. They would have been totally lost because they didn't understand the FastPass system at all.
Yeah. And I think Disney realizes that's a barrier to entry, right? That's a place where they could do better and making it easier for people, and to not have to do that pre-planning, and to be able to show up day of and get on these rides when they want to get on these rides. That's a huge benefit, I think, for a lot of people. And I think as DVC members, we have a little bit of a skewed reality when it comes to this, right? Because the majority of people that are going to Disney parks are going once every couple of years, once every 5 years, once every 10 years. These are not frequent vacations for most people, right?
Yeah.
But for us as members who go every year, go several times a year, our view on it's a little bit skewed, because we are doing it all the time and we're going all the time. So we have a different thought on this. Now, it's worth noting, they have not said anything about the cost being different for DVC members, for annual pass holders, if there's going to be discounts involved there. More to come, I think. I don't know if they will offer discounts. I kind of lean to the side of that they won't. But I feel like if they really wanted to make a game-changing benefit for DVC members, especially direct members, Blue Card members, if they made it included with a membership, that would be pretty huge, I feel like. But, I doubt that's going to happen. I don't see it happening. So
I could see it being something, kind of like they did with the Platinum passes those one year, where you could get the Platinum for the price of the Gold. I could see it being like a one-time thing where they're like, hey, this year you can get cheap or, potentially, I wouldn't think free, but, get your Genie Plus at a discount or something like that. I could see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to see. I'll be interested to see how this kind of shakes out. So, yeah. All right. The only other note, I think we talked enough about Genie Plus, but, we've heard a lot of the groups about it. But listen, I think probably some of our opinions are going to get some hate here, because and we're not trying to sit here and say that we're very pro this, but I do think that we need to see more details. We need to see how it's going to be in practice before we can really say anything about it. And
I'm not going to hate on it until there's a good reason to hate on it. And right now there's a lot of conjecture.
Well, and it's just interesting to me because it seemed, MaxPass was so popular in Disneyland, and you didn't really seem to hear anybody complaining about the costs of MaxPass, right? But it's interesting that now that there's a cost here, that there are so many people mad about that. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just because you had something that was free for so long and then now it's not, or I don't know. But
I think that's the bigger thing is that, people got used to the idea of it. And again, for somebody that hasn't been there in a long time, they have no frame of reference on this. So they go, okay, this is just how, Universal's doing this. So Disney's doing this. So fine. Right. Like,
yeah, well, like I said, I mean, pretty much any theme park, Disney's like the last one to do this. I mean, if I go to my local theme park, I can't skip the line unless I pay way more than $15 for a day. Like, usually they're a lot more expensive than this. And, at Universal, if you want to skip the line just unlimited, it's, as much as a park ticket. It's basically like doubling your park ticket cost. I mean, it's, and they do give it away they do give those passes away to people that stay at deluxe resorts, I think. But, and that might be a thing that happens too. Maybe they start giving this away to people that stay at deluxe resorts, or I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to, but who knows? But, like I said, Disney's kind of like late to the party on this one in a lot of ways, because you really can't skip the line for free just about anywhere. So, and that's not a good reason to do it. But, again, I don't think the cost is probably 90% making more money and probably 10% trying to modify what people are doing and modify kind of the guest behavior. So that there is that part to it. But most of it is to make more money, of course, right? So, the only other thing I saw in here, you mentioned the early access for Disney resort guests, but also I think we mentioned too, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Part of this announcement mentioned, which I think we kind of assumed this was the case, but it basically officially said that there's going to be a virtual queue for it. Now, whether that's a permanent thing or not, or just an opening thing. Like, because I don't see that ride as being the type of ride that is going to require a virtual queue every day, like Rise of the Resistance. I'm wondering if it's just to start off with, because it's a new ride.
So my thinking on this is that the Lightning Lane is going to be, whatever the newest ride is in the park will by default end up in Lightning Lane. And then as time goes on, they'll drop down to Genie Plus, depending on the ride.
Agreed. Yeah.
And the hype around it. Like, I see Ratatouille, for the first little while, it'll be Lightning Lane. And then probably when Guardians opens up, I wouldn't be surprised if Ratatouille drops down to Disney Plus at some point.
Yeah.
Or not Disney Plus.
Genie Plus. I know. Yeah. Too many plus things.
I keep, it's going to be on Disney Plus. Okay.
All right. So we're already pretty far in here. So we have a couple more topics. So let's go over these things pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
food news next.
Yeah, food news. So we talked a little bit about Boma reopening. Boma's like a fan favorite. A lot of people love Boma. Have you ever had Boma? We did the breakfast buffet there. We've never done dinner there though.
No, I haven't been there just because I've never been to Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. So it is. I mean, I will say it's probably the best. I'm probably going to offend somebody here, but I think it's a pretty consensus. Probably the best breakfast buffet at Disney. They have a lot of stuff there that you don't really find elsewhere, right. Like, cause a lot of the breakfast buffets are very standard fare, your bacon, your eggs, your carved hams, your waffles, your pancakes. And they have that there too, but then they have some really cool, like African inspired dishes that are there too. And it's just, it all feels very fresh and different. And it's very good. So, that's coming back as the first traditional buffet. It's actually already come back as we're speaking here. But then they also announced the Crystal Palace is going back to a buffet, but not for breakfast, it seems. It's just for lunch and dinner right now, which is interesting.
It's fine. I actually like the Crystal Palace lunch is actually my preferred one over the breakfast. So that's fine.
Yeah. So that's September 12th. That'll be back. And then the Biergarten Restaurant in the German Pavilion beginning on August 29th will be a buffet experience for lunch and dinner too. So yeah, so that's. I mean, I understand your thoughts on this, but I think I'm a little happy to see those coming back. I like buffets, and so I understand not being comfortable going to one at this point too. So
it's fine. Like I'm glad that they are starting to get back to this point because that means it'll get closer to a point where I'm okay with it. It's my personal take on it doesn't take anything away from the fact that these are coming back, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know how you feel about this one, the POG Juice. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, so POG Juice is no longer available at Boma and reportedly leaving Disney World altogether. Now, I guess what I read on this was that the provider for it, they've stopped manufacturing it.
Yeah, I read that too. That basically they just, and it's not that Disney doesn't want to offer it anymore. It's just that literally the company that makes it, that supplied it to them, just stopped making it. And this is a fan favorite thing, right? So it's passion fruit, orange, and guava juice mix. And I know they have alcoholic versions of it. And I think, in fact, when my wife and I did our honeymoon at Animal Kingdom Lodge, I believe when we walked in the door, because we were staying club level, they like walked us in the door and immediately handed us like an alcoholic POG juice thing, which was great. It was really good. So I know a lot of people are upset about this. And by the way, this is one website we read this on, but I've read this on multiple, it's being reported by multiple Disney sites. So this is not just one place. And then I've also seen people saying, well, wait, you can buy POG juice at Costco. And I'm like, yeah, you can buy POG juice at Costco, right? But Disney doesn't buy stuff at Costco. Disney needs a company that can supply a ton of it, right? Yeah. Like that's, so it maybe the company that supplies it to Costco can be their new supplier, but a company of Disney's size, they have supplier agreements. They will need to find this new supplier and make sure that they can in fact supply them, right? So that might take some time. I tend to think that they will bring back POG juice, but
or some form of it.
Or some form of it, yeah. But right now it seems like it's going away a little bit.
Yeah. And I liked it. I guess most of the time when I got it was at like dessert parties, and it was really good.
It's good, yeah.
But yeah, I guess for me, I'd never made this the focal point of what I was going for when I would go to Disney, right? Like that, like it's kind of low on the tier list of my favorite snacks. So obviously, Dole Whip being at the top, but this is kind of like, okay, yeah, they're not offering anymore. Well, like it's just it's a drink. I don't know.
I by the way, speaking of Dole Whip, I saw that they have watermelon Dole Whip right now, and I like so badly wish I was there to try that. I would love to try that. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, and like you said, just because it's going away now, like other things, because I remember like the cheese at Casey's I can't remember what one of the things that had the cheese dip that was gone for a bit at one point too.
And they found a new supplier. And
exactly. Yeah. So, it may be gone for a little while, but, hopefully Disney finds someone who's willing to provide it and it'll come back. So,
yeah, that's always the hard thing here, right? Because then we've talked about this before where it's like, well, why doesn't Disney just completely go to, paper straws, right? Or the sugarcane straws or whatever. And it's like, anything that they do, they have to make sure that company can supply them an absurd amount of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, so even if there's a company that is doing it for Costco, like who knows how big that company is, right? Like maybe they can't supply the thousands or millions of gallons of POG juice that Disney needs a year to, everything is on such a huge scale.
And the interesting thing about Costco is that, per location, they like
it's different stuff. Yeah.
It's not that every Costco has POG juice. Like it's in a particular area because they're working with a supplier in that area. But yeah, like you said, it may be that some Costcos have them, but they may not be able to do the volume that Disney's asking for. So
exactly. So this has been rumored for a long time that this is what would happen at the Contemporary, but it has been announced now officially that Steakhouse 71 is a new restaurant that will replace the Wave at Disney's Contemporary. Now there was some talk about this being an Incredibles theme. It seems like that's not happening. This is going to be Steakhouse 71. We don't know a lot of stuff about it, but it seems like it's going to be a little bit different because it's going to be a casual dining concept. So I don't think it's going to be Steakhouse, but it's going to be like kind of a more casual environment, it seems. And
right.
I did think, go ahead, sorry.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I think Disney's realizing, there's definitely some space for fine dining, but somewhere like the Contemporary, especially, I think a lot of people are, wanting something where they can go to the park and then show up there and not have to be, dressed up for it necessarily. Like
exactly, because your other options are, California Grill, and that's, really nice. And, so that's, it is nice to have kind of like a more casual dining concept there. So, I mean, more to come on that. They didn't give a ton of details. But it is a little bit ironic that they closed Steakhouse 71 when it's kind of, seems like it's inspired by the Steakhouse. What was it, 55 at Disneyland, which they just closed. But this is a new version of it. Let's say that.
But yeah, I think there's a bigger plan going on at Disneyland and why that's closed. And yeah, for anyone that's wondering, the numbers are relevant. So 55 was the year that Disneyland opened. 71 was the year that Disney World opened. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So this other thing here I put on here, that Zach, I forget what's his full name, Zach Ridley, the Imagineer, he's constantly posting like cool projects that they're working on, and he posted some information about the points of light on Spaceship Earth, and we got kind of our first look at it, and man, does this look cool. Right? Yeah. I don't know what your thought on it is, but like just looking at the pictures of it, and it just looks really, really cool.
It reminds me of like net lighting that you would buy, like for like what you would put over if you put over a bush, like around Christmas kind of thing. But yeah, the interesting thing, I did see a little bit of video on this as well, that the control they have over it is going to be, it's awesome. Like it's and I guess the thing that, or what it immediately reminded me of was the way that they cued Mickey's Fun Wheel in California Adventure to World of Color. I'm seeing exactly the same thing here. Like it's going to allow Spaceship Earth to be part of shows, like obviously like Harmonious and stuff like that. It's really, like you said, it's really cool. And yeah, I've already seen similar to that, but yeah, Spaceship Earth is, I believe it's even bigger than Mickey's Fun Wheel. So
probably, yeah. But it's. I saw somebody posted a video just that they took, that they saw that they were testing it. I guess they took it from one of the hotels or whatever, and they were testing it at night. Yeah. And just that little test video from far away at night, it just looks so cool. And because it looks neat, because you can just do like a point, right? But it also looks like it can send colors out in a straight line to one of the other points, right? So like there's like all sorts of cool shapes they can make on this, and shades that they can do. And he says in his post that the installation is almost complete, that they have a pre-queuing system where they can visualize and program it. And I guess in doing that, they're finding even some cool effects that they didn't even really know that they could do, like just by testing stuff out. And it just looks like it's going to be so neat to watch. Like, I feel like I'm just going to want to sit there and watch this for like hours,
It's basically, it's a very low resolution circular TV screen is what it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Think about it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at it's going to be cool. I can't wait to check it out. And that's a really cool thing I think they're doing for Epcot for the anniversary. So
yeah, for sure. And yeah, like I said, I'm fully, I think, I don't want to say this too loud because then everyone will figure it out, is that, immediately across the World Showcase Lagoon, like over in Japan, would probably be one of the best places to watch Harmonious from, because then you would get that view of Spaceship Earth. And I would expect that it's, synchronized.
You think it's going to be part of the show? Like, you think it's going to be included, like it's going to do stuff during the show?
Yeah, I think it will.
That'd be cool.
I'm thinking it will. So then it becomes, the only problem with that is then, you're kind of like, depending on which side of the lagoon you're on, you may want to actually think about that.
I'm just thinking though too, like, because they can draw lines with these lights, they should be able to theoretically, they could write stuff on Spaceship Earth too. Like they could do lettering. They can do, just cool waves of stuff, but they can spell stuff out if they want to. I'm also just thinking of, I always remember after Illuminations was over, that walk to the front gate where you'd have all the, just the lighting actually usually they would have, I feel like, a laser writing of what the sponsor was, right? It was like Illuminations brought to you by whoever. But they also had some other, cool lighting and stuff on there. And I'm just thinking of that walking out experience afterwards. If you're going in that direction, just that kind of cool look that you're going to get at the end of the night, that kind of good night, like really cool wow thing.
Like arrows kind of pointing underneath of Spaceship Earth, like kind of directing people out and stuff.
Oh, that's cool too. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff they can do with this. So
I actually just remembered. So something that they did with World of Color, and I don't know if they still do it or not. They probably do. But there was a pre-show game. So while you were waiting for World of Color, there was a trivia game, and whoever scored the highest for about 5 minutes before the show, you actually got control of the lighting patterns on World of Color from your phone. So
that's cool.
You couldn't do like I think there was only like 10 presets or something like that. But yeah, if you won the mini game, you could play with the pattern on Mickey's Fun Wheel before
that's really cool.
Before the show started. So think about that, something interactive where then when you're done, maybe you can like draw on Spaceship Earth or do patterns or something like that. So yeah.
Well, listen, we're like way late right now, so like we got one more thing to talk about.
We're not way late. We're about normal time, but we just
that's true.
Yeah, we just talked a lot.
Topic. I think everybody expected this to be a very long episode, considering how much stuff happened this week. So
yeah,
I think people were expecting this, and I think we've done a good job here. But I want to talk about this Project EXO thing, which Disney Imagineering released. Revealed details about. Essentially what they've done is they have created these exoskeletons that people can wear that allow them to create gigantic characters in the park that you can interact with. So think Incredible Hulk coming up to you as the Incredible Hulk with being able to walk up to you and move its hands and move his facial expressions and
okay. All right. I was going to say, because I think we've already seen kind of a prototype of that in Animal Kingdom with the exosuit from Pandora.
Yeah. The suit. Yeah.
Yeah. So we kind of have something close to that, but yeah, you're right. That this looks like the next
iteration of that, the next, because I'm sure what you're talking about with those suits were like the mech suits were like version 1, right? Like this, and then this is version 2 now of where they're going with this. And I mean, there's video of this out on they put it out on TikTok actually of like gigantic hands and gigantic feet.
Yeah, the fingers moving I think is really cool. Like the fact that they can actuate the individual fingers is gonna like that, because usually like the big bulky characters, like I think of like Wreck-It Ralph and the Hulk and stuff like that. It's like Ralph, they've got like the big foam hands, right? They can't really do anything.
Yep.
And this will, this will allow them to be a little more interactive that way.
Yeah, and I guess the real innovation here is the ability to put somebody in a suit like that, right? And not have them have, hundreds of pounds of stuff weighing on their shoulders. That's apparently what the big thing is here. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I've seen this too with these exosuits where it's designed to, redistribute the weight so that, the person inside of it can move it, but the skeleton itself still weighs a lot, but it's designed that the weight is not sitting on the human being. It's actually like supported from the frame itself.
Yeah. And there's so many cool things they could do with this. I mean, they already have that full figured Groot character that you could meet, right? At a Disneyland that they've done before.
Yeah.
But I mean, how cool would it be if you could meet the Hulk, or you could meet Thanos, or, because Thanos is also kind of Hulk level huge, right? Or Wreck-It Ralph,
I don't know how many people would want to meet Thanos, but
I would want to meet Thanos. Why not? You take pictures with Darth Vader at Disney World. Why wouldn't you want to take pictures with Thanos?
Okay, fair enough. I don't know.
People want to meet Kylo Ren. They want to meet Darth Vader.
Yeah,
right?
I'm not a fan of okay. So, I went to, back to back, went to meet Kylo Ren and Chewbacca, and Kylo Ren was not my favorite.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And it's worth noting, you can already meet Wreck-It Ralph, but I guess the thought here is that you could make him, more... He's
not so much plastic toy and more like actual character.
Exactly, because the Wreck-It Ralph, you can meet it now. It's just, he has just static hands and, he just... yeah, this would be more interactive and more real. And I also like to believe that some of what they're doing here, I just at this point believe that everything that they're developing is somehow going to end up in the Star Wars hotel. So, yeah. So I also look at this and I go, okay, Star Wars hotel. Some characters are going to be gigantic characters that they'll be able to act through, who knows? So I guess we'll have to see. But I just thought this was really neat, and I wanted to bring it up because there was a whole article in the New York Times about it with Walt Disney Imagineering talking about this project. So, all right. I think that's it. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about, let's wrap this thing up.
I think we've talked about a lot. So
everything.
Yeah.
We've talked about everything.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I guess let's wrap it up here.
Damon did this for you last week, by the way, and it was interesting because he skipped half of it. So
of course, yeah.
He's just like, who cares about YouTube? Who cares about Instagram? Like, he just.
Well, I mean, yeah, we, as we keep saying, we are going to get back to using those platforms more as it's hard because there's not a ton of reason to use them right now because we're not going to the parks, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but. Anyway, yeah, to start wrapping us up, as usual, if you guys want to reach out to us, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We get great conversations in there from listeners. You guys ask us good questions. You share your own stories with us and your own experiences, which we greatly appreciate because, we can't be there all the time. We can't be at Disney or, other places that you guys like to travel and share about. So, always feel free to send us an email and to let us know your thoughts on the podcast or just, travel and vacation stuff in general.
Yep.
And then, if you want to find us on social media, you can always find us as Welcome Home Podcast on Facebook. And there is also the Welcome Home Disney Waitlist Facebook group if you guys want to join that. It's full of lots of great listeners, lots of great conversation. Everyone's super respectful of one another. It's probably the least drama Facebook group I've ever been a part of. So
we haven't banned anybody yet. We're still there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a good place to be. And, as we mentioned, there is the YouTube channel, which is Welcome Home Podcast, and Instagram, which is Welcome Home Pics. Those are our main platforms when we do get to go to the parks. And, as we get back to more normal here and, like Tom said, he's going to try and do an impromptu trip. Hopefully you'll be able to see more content on those platforms. So make sure you subscribe to them so you don't miss out on anything. And if you want some merchandise, you can find mugs and t-shirts and stuff, on store.welcomehomepodcast.com. That's with the Welcome Home Podcast logo. And if you want to join our Patreon, you can find us on patreon.com/welcomehomepod. That's it's obviously a Patreon sign up. That is how to get access to the Discord server that we've been talking about. So if you are on Discord and you want to start chatting with us on there, that's a good way to get a hold of us. And there is also some exclusive merchandise on there with we have a redesigned logo specifically for Patreon. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check it out. Last but not least, if you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify, really any service that you can leave reviews, please do so. I know Tom really appreciates watching the overall ratings go up. So,
we've got a lot of really nice 5-star reviews lately. So I appreciate that.
So, make sure you guys leave us a review. Even if you don't like everything we're saying, we do appreciate constructive criticism. We do appreciate your guys' opinions. So, make sure you guys leave us a review.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, just about any place you can find podcasts. You can find us. Just search for Welcome Home. Look for the one that says DVC. And by the way, if there is a podcast, is a place where you listen to podcasts and you can't find us, let me know, and I will get us on there. Just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, any and all opinions we express on the show are our own, so please consult a Disney cast member or DVC representative for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to DVC Rental Store for sponsoring this episode, as always, and being a longtime supporter of the show. Please check them out if you're looking to rent out your points or looking to rent points. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert A. Wall, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit its hair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.